Digital Africa Media presents Everything Digital with Faith History.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Everything Digital, the show where we bring you everything cool, everything hip, and yes, that's right, everything that's digital in your world today. And as always, I'm your hostess with the mostest, Faith History, and I will be your digital guide on this series. Now, today, we are continuing in our series of how to make and promote your podcast. So last week, we started talking about how to actually create your podcast. We talked about your naming. Are you going to have a co-host? How are you going to promote it? And then this week, let's talk a little bit more about promoting your podcast, right? So now you found a niche, you found a name, you've done your first recording, you've uploaded it to whatever platform that you want to upload it to, that's going to help you share that podcast to as many listeners as possible. Then it's time to grow your audience, So I want to tell you something about, growing your audience. It's very easy to do a lot of reading, and you're going to see lots of tips and tricks. And some of them, they're practicable, but some of them aren't. So I want to share with you the tips that I've used, and the tips that I'm going to use, which is going to be a bonus at the end of this episode, of things that I'm going to be doing. So as I'm doing it, I'm sharing it with you, right? I'm not hiding anything from you guys. So like I said last week, you're going to need a lot of patience and perseverance to get your desired podcast audience size, especially since podcast listening is still fairly new in Nigeria. A lot of us listen more to radio, which is why you're listening to me on radio right now. But if you're listening to me on the podcast, thank you. You can listen to last week's episode if you haven't already. And that all you have to do is just go to edigitalafrica.com/podcast, and you should be able to pick up, or just go to our Instagram page, edigitalafrica, and you can pick up any of our past podcasts from there. Okay. So number one thing when you're growing your audience is you want to know your niche, right? So you need to know your niche. You may have heard this a lot. We talk about knowing your niche just in building your brand as an influencer, and it's really something that is very, very important. So you want to know your niche. And, one of the ways to find this out, again, is by answering these questions. Who are you and what do you stand for? So don't be all over the place. Know who and what you're creating content for and about. For example, for us at eDigital Africa, we are a digital content company that wants to and tries and seeks to educate and inform Africa's smart set, right? With digital skills and tools that they will need for the new future. So you can basically say that our own niche is, we're all about technology, we're all about information and innovation, right? So that's what we talk about. We talk about digital marketing, we talk about digital technologies, tools, apps that exist out there, and what we are all doing in the marketplace, right? With our digital brands. And then number 2 on my list of 5 things that you need to do to grow your podcast is consistency, again, and quality content, right? So when we talk about consistency, if you've been following us for a while right now, you would have noticed that, we have a pattern and our content is very specific. That's consistency, right? And our pattern is we release a new episode every single week. Sometimes we'll have a repeat in between seasons, but mostly you're going to hear a 15-minute episode, especially right here on radio, every single week. And on our podcast, we have a longer form. It just runs longer, right? So that's the advantage of being on the podcast. And so we are all about that digital life, that innovation, who's who in the zoo, who's doing what, and picking up new digital skills and all that. So that's what we're about. So we think we've been pretty consistent. I mean, even though the first 4.5 or so years, it was more of an interview style, and now I'm going solo, where I'm sharing more of my thoughts and my research with you all, and my learnings as well. So even though the consistency, or rather the format has changed a little bit, once I changed the format, once I decided to make that switch though, I had to stay consistent. And I think I've been doing a good job so far. What do you guys think? Please send me a mail, send me a tweet, or send me a DM on Instagram. Let me know what you think about my consistency with eDigital Africa, with the show, all right? So, in your case, you'd find out that, your consistency and your quality always has to be top notch. And because you know value when you hear it, and you need to be able to focus on providing and receiving that value as well. All right. So let's take a quick break and go to a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we will continue this conversation about growing your podcast audience. And I'm going to continue with the next set of steps. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we're back. All right. So before we went on break, we talked about knowing your niche. We talked about consistency and quality content, right? So back, one more word about the consistency and content. Again, you're listening to eDigital Africa, the show, and you know that if you've been listening and following us for a while, you know that we all about digital skills. We're all about digital marketing, the future of work. We talk about the different aspects of the economy, but the message is always consistent, and that is it's time for us all to go digital, right? That is our message. And of course, we try to keep our quality top notch, even even when I'm recording from home, even when I'm recording from my home studio, I really do try to keep that quality top notch, and it's actually only going to get better now that they're releasing us to move about the streets post COVID, right? You guys, don't forget, you got to stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask. That's very, very important. And as much as possible, if you can, work digitally, right? Tell people, hey, let's have a Zoom meeting. Why am I coming all the way to you? Why do we need to meet? Why do I need to sit in traffic? Why do I need to put my life in danger? Let's have a Zoom meeting, and you'll probably find out that you'll be able to achieve even more by sitting in one space and having your meetings. Oh, okay, I digress. Okay, let's continue with our list. Of how to grow your podcast. So you need to decide and publish new episodes, whether it's weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, whatever works for you. Just have a pattern that your listeners can follow and expect and know what to expect so that they can stay with you, right? Here's another one. This is my number 3. You need to use other channels, right? And you need to do this for 2 reasons. You need to meet new people, so that's networking, and you want to also connect with people and collaborate, and then you also want to connect with the listeners that you already have. So more about networking, right? So networking, we can't overemphasize that. In life, you network because you want to get a job, you want to network to meet new people and improve your business prospects, you want to find new clients. You network. Networking is a skill that every young adult, even into your old age, should constantly have, right? And so thanks to coronavirus, we know now that you don't even actually need to leave your home. You can still network and meet new people online. So when we talk about networking, it's not just about meeting new listeners, though. It's also about meeting new podcasters. And I have to say, guys, this is something I need to work on even more, right? Meet other podcasters, connect with them, see if there are ways that you can work together, either co-host a show or just guest host on their show and vice versa, so that you guys can promote each other. And don't forget, collaboration is a new oil, so that's very important. Another reason why it's good to use other channels to grow your podcast is that you want to connect with the listeners that you already have. So when you interact with your listeners and their posts on social media, you're able to stay top of their mind, and you're able to show them that you value them. So by doing this, you can attract new listeners to your page and to your podcast. So what am I saying here? I'm saying, if you know that there's a listener who's been following you, who's very loyal to you, and you know their handle, go figure out what they're doing, and connect with them, talk to them, like their post, ask them questions, answer their questions. And it doesn't even have to be about your podcast. You're just connecting. All right. So just remember that we're all human and we just need those connections. It feels good. And then when you release a new podcast episode, put it on social media. Your people need to know. They're wanting to listen. They have a lot of other people competing for their attention, a lot of other content competing for their attention. And so when you remind them via social media, it's you feel like you're bothering them. You're not. You're actually just reminding them. It's like, oh, thank you for reminding me. It's like when your calendar reminds you that you have a meeting, you say, are you bothering me? No, you say, thank you, calendar, for reminding me. So, I think that's the attitude and the mindset that we want to have, especially, and that people do have when they enjoy something or when it's something that they look forward to. So at eDigital Africa, what we do specifically with social media is we make blog posts, we put the link to our podcast in there, which also helps with our search engine optimization. We also do like a short social media post, which we use a tool to just take an excerpt, like a little piece of the show, and we put it on the page, right? So you can actually listen to a piece of the show, like less than a minute, and you can get a chance to hear my voice. And sort of, I use a picture of me, and then see whether you want to listen to the rest of the episode or not. It's just to whet your appetite, so just give them a little, ginger, so that they can then say, what, I want to listen to more of this. And then social media, it's meant to be a social place. And while a lot of people are just focused on Instagram and Twitter, Pinterest is an interesting platform that can give you steady growth and steady traffic. So people should be taking more advantage of it. In fact, we have an episode where we interviewed a Pinterest enthusiast, and she told us all about how she uses it to drive traffic to her podcast. You guys should go listen to that. So good news is we have a whole episode on that, so just check the show notes on the link, and then you'll be able to get a chance to listen to that. All right, next up that you need to do, or one of the things that you need to do, is figure out what your popular content is. What did you post, or what did you talk about that got a lot more views than normal? Like last week, I talked about finding that sweet spot between what you love and what your audience loves, and giving them more content along those lines. So how do you do this? There's so many tools that you can use, but one of the most popular ones is Google Analytics or Google Trends, right? So you can check what's generally trending anyway on social media, right, using Google Analytics or Google Trends. And then you just check the search and explore page on Twitter, and you'll get an idea of what your audience is actually already talking about. And then you can build on that. If it's aligned with your topic or your niche, you can build on that. And then it also has to be something that you're interested in, right? So for instance, this whole week, everybody's talking about the big word of the year, entanglement. Is this something in our niche? Can we talk about entanglement on the eDigital show? Not so much. What are we getting entangled with? Nothing. Maybe you guys, as the fact that you're listening to the show, but that is not in our niche. So am I going to use that and expand on it? Maybe not. But if I had a show that was just based on entertainment, yeah, that would be quite interesting to talk about. So I'm going to have to pass on entanglement, but you don't have to. So just think about what your niche is, where your focus is, and then go from there. And then taking note of what your current audience is loving. It can just take your podcast to the next level. So you can also do a Q&A and let them tell you themselves. You tell me, guys, what you want me to talk about. You want me to start talking about things like entanglement? I think not. All right. Number 5, join communities. So whatever niche you're in order to grow your podcast, you need to join a community, because there's already a community out there, probably, who's already thriving, and it's around whatever your niche is, right? This is a great thing. So what you want to do is you want to get involved so you can meet other like-minded people. It's also a great way to grow your audience, and again, more networking opportunities from within the community that you already are part of and want to be even a bigger part of. So you can find communities on Facebook. Just do a Google search. A simple one that I've done is like podcast communities on Facebook, so just do that type of search and then see what comes up. And if there's a niche that kind of calls to you, or you want to focus on, or you've been focusing on, just, dive into that one a little bit. It might be more international than local, but, just dive in anyway, just so you can get an idea of what people are talking about all around. let's go to another quick break. When we come back, I'm going to round up for you guys on my final step for growing your podcast. And then we'll talk about something that, I'm thinking of working on, right, in order to grow my podcast. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. You're listening to Digital, the show hosted by Faith History. And we'll be right back. Hold on. Thanks for sticking with us. We're back. My name is Faith History. You're listening to Everything Digital, the show where we bring you everything hip, everything cool, and everything that's digital in your world today. And today we're talking about growing your podcast, right? So last week you started talking about how to build your podcast and how to record and what to look for, how to create your format and all that. And today we're talking about, this week rather, we're going to be talking about how to grow your podcast. So I talked earlier, just to recap for you, we went over a few steps that you could take to grow your podcast, including knowing your niche and being able to focus on that, providing consistent quality content, using other channels like networking channels, connecting with listeners that you already have on social media in order to grow. And then another one is to expand on popular content, whether it's content that you created or content that is just trending, and then joining communities, other podcast communities, in order to find listeners as well as like-minded people. And then my final step on this list is to just ask your loyal listeners for help. You'll be surprised. A lot of your loyal listeners already, they're invested into your show. They love your podcast. They listen to it all the time. They want it to get better. They want to learn more, or they want you to delve into a new topic or talk about something else. So that feedback is very, very important. And loyal listeners can be the best evangelist for you as well. So that's why you need to start connecting with them now. These folks, they've been with you for a while. They love it already, what you're doing. And they most likely will help spread the word about your latest episodes anyways, right? So, by the way, speaking of loyal listeners, shout out to members of the Digital Africa tribe. And I want to do a special shout out today to Miriam Musa. Her handle is @_Miriam Musa. Miriam, the MARYAMMUSA, Musa on IG. So I just want to do a shout out to her. She's one of our loyal listeners. She's always sharing our content. She's always vibing with us, and we really, really appreciate her. So back to you guys. Your loyal listener is also the most likely to offer you real useful feedback. So, you need to find them, you need to utilize them, and they are invaluable to any content creator, especially podcasters. So be sure to thank them like I just did when you do. And, one last thing before I go, I want to share with you an idea that I just had, right? So while I was doing research for this particular episode, I came up on this idea that, while we're promoting podcasts, a place that we haven't even thought about promoting so far. I mean, we kind of thought about it, but we just said, it's just a lot of work, But now we're thinking, hey, it's time to execute that work, right? What's worth doing is worth doing well. So how do you guys think about this? What do you guys think if we start placing our podcast on YouTube? A lot of other people already do it. And YouTube is not just a music channel. It's not just a channel for videos. It's not just a channel, it's a channel for also audio. So, hey, what about that? So that's what we're going to do. And we've been looking at some numbers. It shows actually that more people listen to audio content on YouTube than anywhere else. Who knew? The power of information, man. So what we're going to do is we are going to put the Everything Digital podcast, they're going on to YouTube. And once that happens, we're going to let you know. I'll let you know if it happens this week, and then I'll be sharing that with you next week so that you guys can go listen on there because, why not? And here are some of the benefits that you can gain by repurposing and publishing your podcast on YouTube, right? So you can tap into that massive YouTube audience because, of course, billions of people visiting YouTube every day. And then YouTube also offers like really cool analytical tools. So, by using the analytical tools, we can see who's listening, how long they're engaging with the content, how they found it, and so on. And also, viewers can engage with the content. They can add comments, and podcasting is a one-way conversation. You're listening to me and I'm just sharing my thoughts, and then you can feed back to me on social media. But if we are on YouTube, you could just pop in a comment right there and there. So that comments area, we're going to be using it quite a bit. And then there are also people who are like content thieves who would just take your podcast and publish them. So you know what, we're going to be publishing our own content, so hopefully there'll be no thieves out there, and hopefully we'll even be able to monetize our videos, our podcast videos. So one of the things is that we're going to do, and I invite you to also do, if you're bold enough, don't waste time. All right, don't be like me and procrastinate, or kind of just dip your toe in carefully. No, just go all in. If you're podcasting, go all in. I'm telling you, I've done this for 5 years. You need to go all in. So what I'm going to be doing is we're going to upload the entire episode. It'll require, the pros of doing this is that there's just no planning necessary. It'll be easy to integrate into our workflow. We don't need any editing. We can just you can use an automated automation tool like Castos, for YouTube republishing. So that's what we're going to be doing. The cons of that is obviously maybe our listenership on other platforms like iTunes and Anchor or Google, it will be lower. And people might not be willing to sit through a really long podcast, which is good for us because ours is pretty short, 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes on a good long day. But typically it's about 15 to 20 minutes. And if your podcast is longer though, like if you're 30 minutes, 45 minutes, people might not be willing to sit through it for that long. So you have to think about that. And another one is that, obviously you're giving everything away, and sometimes people might just be really bored at looking at one image. But hey, we're going to give it a try. You guys let me know what you think. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do either a full episode or we're going to do a snippet. So we'll probably try a few episodes full and then a few that are snippets, and then do the test to see what is working and what's not. So if you want to upload your video to YouTube though, just know that it's not possible to upload MP3s. So you have to convert your audio to MP4, and very easy way to upload your audio to YouTube. When you're recording your podcast, you could also set up a camera and record video, so that way it's an engaging one. You can record a video of you and the guest. That could work. You can present into your webcam. You can convert your audio file into your video, which is probably what we're going to do, since I mostly record alone now. So we'll probably just convert the audio into a video file and just add a single static image that never changes, and that's it. We're putting it in there. We already have a YouTube channel. It's called eDigital Africa. You guys should check it out, please. And I think that's the show for me today. I really love doing it. I hope I gave you a lot of practical tips to growing your podcast, and that your numbers should be on the rise. So get onto it. Know that even with all these tips, even with all these things that you're doing, it's going to take time. It's like a new baby. You've got to keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. If you get stuck, you know where to find us. We're at eDigital Africa everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, DM us. You should have our phone number by now. If you don't, it's WhatsApp, and it's 0813-888-0585. Again, that's 0813-888-0585. Until next week, when I bring you more show, you must tell me what you guys want to listen to and what else you want to learn. And you can do that via email. Email everythingdigitalng@gmail.com. That's everythingdigitalng@gmail.com. All right, I did get it right. Okay, so just email us there, or you can DM us on Instagram, Facebook. Those are great ways to reach us. Of course, our YouTube channel is also a good place. You want to expatiate on something more, you want us to go into some more pros, you want to learn something new, you want me to explain something, you get stuck, let me know. We will do it for you. Okay, until next time, it's goodbye for now from me, your girl, Faith History. Toodles!
For more on this topic, visit www.edigitalafrica.com.
Everything Digital is proudly brought to you by MTN. This is a Faith History production.